And here we are at A Course of Love, chapter 22 of the third treatise. And now we're going to learn about the true self in observable form. It's pretty exciting. So the question arises, what do I do with what I've learned? And he tells us, first, live by the truth. The seeds of your true self are planted within the self you've always been. Discovery of the true self centers around, here it is, here's the nugget, inner observation. So the seeds of who you actually are contained with who you thought you were. It's part of that package. And the way to figure that out and the way to nurture those seeds is by watching yourself from the inside. 2, share this course only as you're led. Again, the same idea from the last chapter. No leaders and followers are needed. Just represent the course as you are called to do. And 3, address the tension between who you are and who you want to become. Present you versus future you, by integrating 2 precepts into your reality. So you'll notice that when we walk around in what we call our normal lives, there's always this, okay, I'm this today, and tomorrow I hope to lose a few pounds and be better tomorrow, or get smarter, or become better at this spiritual stuff, or whatever. There's this tension, almost like a rope almost, between your present self and your future self that always exists. That's where the whole goal setting and fixing things started. So this is something that we need to look at, and we do that by paying attention to these 2 things. 1, resign as your own teacher. When it's saying that, it means don't let the personal self be your own teacher. And 2, stop all comparison. That is a way of learning that comes from the house of illusion, learning by contrast and comparison. That needs to stop. So we're going to look at these in a little more depth. And I was reminded again, the seeds of your true representation are actually planted right within the self you've always been. What it means to resign as your own teacher starts with, and here we're given the brass tacks here, replacing the idea of planning with the concept of receiving. So planning is when we decide, boy, if I were to do that or accomplish that, then I would be better, feel better, do better. That's planning. And in order to do that, I'm going to do this, this, and this. We're switching that over to the concept of receiving, and we're going to look at that a little deeper. Your feeling that a specific role or accomplishment is required of you are functions of planning. Observation is the active state of receiving. So this has a lot to do with what we call inquiry, self-discovery, because what happens is we receive that information by asking a question and going within, or looking for something and going within. And that's really what this concept is talking about, observation. Plans will only interfere with your response to what you are given to observe. So if I decide ahead of time what's going to be true here and I start planning for that, that's just getting in the way of really looking at and recognizing what's actually true. The act of observation that you are able to do with your eyes closed is the observation of what is. It's really a nugget there. Because what's happening on the outside of your experience is a reflection / projection of what's happening on the inside. You are the creator. You are creating this experience, this particular hologram, according to what you've wanted to experience. And apparently now you want to do it consciously. That's why you're here. That's why you're working with this stuff. So in order to access that, you need to sit quietly. I mean, there's no other way to do it. And you can watch yourself as you interact with people, and there's certainly value in that. You can bring awareness to the things that you do in the world as you're doing it. Certainly makes them more pleasurable, and you can learn things from that. But really, the concept of receiving needs to happen when you are in a space where you can actually hear and see what's true on the inside. Because remember, the inside is the source of what's created on the outside. So if you want to learn what's going on there, you need to get quiet enough to see what's inside. Verse 7. Observation makes you one with what you observe, which causes you to know the proper response. It is in responding properly that you will know what to do. So one of the tips for this is you know the proper response when it feels good, when it feels right. When you're doing this observation, you're thinking about, looking at, observing some feeling of unrest, some feeling that doesn't feel good, something that's stopped you in your tracks, boredom, whatever it is that has come up that doesn't feel great, and you're turning within and looking at it, you will know the proper way to respond when it feels really good. You actually have an inner GPS system that is showing you what's true and what's not true. You have to go within to access it. Verse 11. The ability to cease all acts of comparison will arise out of this observation of your new self. So the fact you're going to stop comparing when you start looking within and getting your answers there. The truth that has always existed is our oneness. And what you will observe about your new self, you will observe about all. You will realize that differences but lie in expression and representation of the truth, never in the truth itself. So that experience that we were talking about that's required in order to stop identifying as the personal self, this is where it happens. It happens in observation. He goes on to say, in your dualistic world, a time lag exists between what is and what will be. Observation takes place now. It brings what is into existence, even if circumstances don't immediately reflect that. In the new world, no tension will exist between illusion and creation. There will be no world of illusion where what is separate from what will be. So what does this mean? Pardon me. What it means is that as you go within and you see what's there and you recognize what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and you respond to what truth is, what feels good, what resonates with you, your circumstances might not immediately reflect that. If I feel like nobody loves me, and I go within to see if that's true, and I go within to observe and see, is there self-love here? Is there love here at all? And I realize, oh, there is. There is love. I feel the love. Wow, it feels fantastic. And we know when it feels fantastic that it's true. And then when you're finished observing, you don't see any change in your circumstances. That's because of this time lag between what is and what will be. In the new world, we won't have that time lag. We'll just create as we go, and respond as we go. Right now, we're mastering that technique. This closed eye observation, in other words, this time in presence, looking inward, establishing that connection, and resting in that and seeing what comes, is like a prayer. It's the miracle that closes the door of duality. Verse 14. Observation of what you desire is observation of what is. For your desire is of God and is the will of God. Why is that? Because you are God. So of course your desire is of God. So when you take the time to really connect with your true self, you don't have to worry about any desires that come from that or feel good from that, because they're coming from Source. You created the personal self. You did it. It wasn't done to you. You're not a victim of anybody else's scheme, plans, or ideas. You did it because you wanted it. And only you can create it anew. Embrace it, the personal self, as it embraces you. So it's really important as we're doing this work to really love the character we're playing, even when that character, so-called, screws up. Even when that character seems flawed. It's so important to just love it because you created it. You created it because you wanted to have that experience. That's your job here, is to express that and be that. So love it. And all the energy changes when you do that. It's the resistance to that causes the tension. Verse 17. To call forth observance is to call forth the sight of your true self. To call forth the sight of your true self is to call your true self into observable form. So the whole thing happens there in your chair. That's where it all happens. It doesn't happen by doing anything on the outside. It happens by being in the chair and connecting with what's within you, by recognizing and experiencing the fact that you actually are consciousness, and that everything that's playing out around you is coming from there, because that's what your consciousness wanted to experience. So greet it with joy, welcome it with an open heart, take time to go within and see what's there, and I guarantee it will change your life, and you will love what you find, because you are not some flawed human being trying to get better and have access to the divine. That's backwards. You are the divine itself, playing a character who at this stage of their story is becoming aware of the truth, is becoming aware of the fact that they've been playing a character, and there's so much more. And so my fellow traveler, other version of myself, thank you for joining me. Have fun in your observance, and we'll talk to you again soon.